Hey guys, so I am here, as you can see by the very well backlit area. Actually, I'm at Mount Lemmon in Tucson, Arizona. If you may have been following my videos or my Instagram, I was in Red Rocks for the first little bit of the month, and that was just a small side trip. I'm actually down here in Tucson for the majority of the season until I'm heading back up to Redmond, Washington, where I'll live for the summer and work up in the North Cascades. And I wanted to take this time to try out some new devices while I was climbing down here. Mount Lemmon has a huge climbing area. If you get the book, it's called Squeezing the Lemon. It's probably about that thick, you know, like 2 inches thick. All-inclusive guidebook for this area. It divides Catalina Highway into 5 sections. Lower highway all the way up to the summit crags, and it's a very interesting place with very great climbing, and it really does provide year-round climbing. I'm sitting here in January right now, and it's a smooth, you know, maybe 50 degrees outside, so very good climbing temperatures at the lower area of the wall of the mountain, and then you can drive all the way up to the summit crags in the heat of the summer and have probably 50-degree climbing while it's, you know, 120 down in Tucson. So it's actually a very interesting place, very nice gem. Has a little skiing area up top. I've been there a couple times. Super icy. You know, it's maybe not the best skiing area, but actually it is very nice to have some skiing in Tucson. And yeah, it's just a very interesting area to climb at, and I took a small 2-week trip out here last year, and now I'm here for the full season just to get some climbing in. So I think it's a really nice place. Yeah, everyone should come check it out. But anyway, on to the subject of this video. I just recently picked up a Grigri Plus, and I wanted to review this. I actually am quite the belay device fanatic. I have tons of belay devices, and I love trying out new ones and getting to know them and everything. And so I thought it would be good to make a series on belay devices for climbers. And so what I'm going to try to do is, budget permitting, because some of these things get decently expensive, like this one, but budget permitting, I'm going to try to find nearly every belay device on the market, either buying it with my own money or borrowing it from someone. I'm going to use it for about as long as I can, or at least until I have a good grip on how it works, and then make a review about it, and then maybe say what it'd be good to use for, and just give my 2 cents about it. And then hopefully I can help those of you out there that are either looking for a new belay device or looking for something for a specific function, or just interested in what is out on the market. And there's virtually, you know, hundreds of different ways to belay someone, and the different devices, they may have sort of just come into play in the last few decades or so, but they are making quite a difference. And so I'm going to talk about this time-honored classic, you know, start from, like, review all the you know, more popular ones, get into some more unpopular ones, and just some weird things as well. So onto the Grigri. I actually am kind of a Grigri fanatic. Here I have in my personal belay device collection, here's the original Grigri. I have my Grigri 2, and then of course the Grigri Plus. So I've been using Grigris for probably as long as I've been climbing now. I, like most people, started rock climbing in a gym, and they had these original Grigris. Like my specific gym had the devices preloaded on the ropes, and so I was expected to use this Grigri, and I used that ever since I was 10 years old to when I was 14, and I got a job at the gym, to up about, I want to say 2-3 years ago, when we switched to the Grigri 2. Like, the entire gym switched all their Grigris out and went to the Grigri 2. And at that time, I did use the Grigri 2. I bought this when I was originally getting SPI certified through AMGA, and I got that probably around, it would be about freshman year in college, maybe about 2015 or so, 2014. That's when I got this device, and so I guess I've been using it for probably about the past 4 years now. And And I did really like it. It definitely was very useful for what I was doing, but I never really felt the need to move on. The Grigri Plus came into the market, I want to say maybe 2 years ago or so, and they had a couple extra features like this metal thing right here. There we go. That's to help with wear, not cause as much wear on this part of the device as much. You can see with some of the older ones, this one's just rubbed off. Actually, that's really hard to see. Yeah, right there, you can see how it's a little rubbed right there from the rope running over it. This one's going to be even harder to see. Maybe if I hold it in just the right light. Nah, you can't really see it, but there is a wear marks right here where the rope runs over this little lip to help it run smoother. So that's why they got this steel plate to help that wear a bit down a bit less. Something that's really big is this side. You can see how you have a lead mode and top rope mode, and what that is all these Grigris have this camming device in it, which is right here, this plate, and as the rope, which it threads through the device just like so, around and up, and as the climber falls or any sort of tension is thrown on the climber's end right here, this cam goes up and pinches the rope right here. It forms a pinch point. See right there where my finger is, and so that's what adds the brake assist to the climber. And so what they've done with the Grigri Plus is they've sort of systemized the camming unit where you have the top rope function right there. Now the cam is a lot more sensitive and it'll cam a lot easier, so that way with the lesser faller forces of top roping and those who maybe want a more snug belay, they can have that with the easy camming. And then you have the lead side where the cam isn't, you see, is a lot stiffer, so it's a bit easier to pay out rope to your climber, which is really nice. I've found that I keep this in lead mode pretty much all the time, but I found that with because I've used this Grigri 2 for the past 4 years, I pretty much just hold it the same overriding way, and so it's not like the difference in camming really makes a huge difference in my life. But it is a really nice feature. One thing that is really cool is if you want to belay this or use this device to belay from above, which I'll show you how to do in a little bit, if you flip it into top rope mode, then the extra sensitive cam will actually hold the rope better. And I'll show you what that's like in a little bit right here. But for those of you who have belayed from above with the Grigri 2, you really have to watch the rope to make sure that it doesn't slip through the climber's end. And again, I'll demonstrate that. But with this, with the top rope mode, that's it's a little bit harder for that to be accomplished. Of course, it does depend on the thickness of your rope. I'd say anything like 9.2 and up, then this really makes a difference, having the more sensitive cam in top rope mode. But if it's still probably like a 9mm rope, you're gonna get some slippage with how wide these holes are. Let me step back to some specs here on that note. These Grigris usually have here we go, a lot like what their the diameter of rope they're meant to work with. All these Grigris, as you can see, they're all single. They have this one track along them, so they're all just used for single ropes, no double ropes, no twin ropes. If you try to use a half rope in this, in any of these really, it's not going to cam up because the rope is just too thin to engage any of the materials. So they are only recommended with single ropes, starting with the original Grigri, which has been on the market for, I'm not really sure, I should have done more research, but it's been on the market for at least the past 12, or at least ever since I've been climbing, so that brings it back to about 13 years, probably about 15 years now on the market. So if you still have one of these, you already know what it's used for, but starting out, the minimum amount of rope diameter is 10 mils, and the max is 11 mils. So 10 to 11 mil rope, that's very thick, and that's not a very large range. And so that's definitely what they needed for the upgrading. Of course, with the Grigri 2, it moves to 8.9 to 11, so they've brought it down quite a bit. The best range is 9.4 to 10.3. In my experience, that's just about on the money, you know. Having thicker ropes can be kind of harder to pull through. It may almost be better if you have a really thick rope to go back to this thing, if you can find one. You can, and then the smaller ropes, you know, it's just nice to pull through. This thing is about the same, I want to say. Yep, 8.5 to 11, but it's best in 8.9 to 10.5. So they sort of brought that range down a little bit compared to the Grigri 2. And so it's kind of nice, actually. It's almost nice to, if you're only going to have one Grigri, you can probably choose either one. It's not like this one is a whole lot different from this one, but if you do work with smaller ropes, maybe this one is the better way to go. Another function that I realized I forgot to mention is the anti-panic function. And so the idea with this is, again, moving back to the Grigri 2, which a lot of people have, people can be dropped by, what Petzl says is that if you pull the lever too far back, you don't have proper control, you can drop someone. And they seem to have either mitigated or even solved this problem with this anti-panic function, where if you pull the lever too far back, it'll just re-cam. And there are plenty of videos on the internet you can look to see where they say that. In my experience, teaching people how to belay in the past, 10 years, I don't really think that's going to do too much of a difference, actually. I've seen plenty of people get dropped with this because they had poor brake hand control versus the lever being opened up too far. And what I mean by that is maybe the lever's open at a good speed where they can control the lower, but because their brake hand is not actually around the rope, that's when the climber gets dropped. It's not because they open up the lever too far. So I think this is kind of more of a gimmick than an actual selling point. I don't think, under the right circumstances, if you give a Grigri to a non-experienced belayer, they can drop you just like this one. I just don't really see that working out. There are a number of cases probably where that anti-panic would actually help save a climber's life, but I don't really see it a lot. And I don't see it solving every problem with this device. And Grigris in general, they just sort of tend to breed bad habits. A lot of belay devices tend to breed bad habits. I've even seen bad habits on ATCs. So really the only thing you can do to prevent bad habits is just be critical about your belaying and always be thinking and not let yourself get into these small sort of habits that end up causing problems in your climbing life. But it is a feature nonetheless, and it helped jack up the price. These things, Grigri 2s are about $100. These are about $150 off of many different sites. One thing I do like is if you look at the cams, here's the Grigri 2, you see this wide point right here. If you thread your rope through, a lot of times when you close the plate over, it can get caught. If I have my finger right here, you can see how it won't close because the rope's too far out versus the rope being further in, and then this plate will slide over. They've mitigated that problem with this extra little piece right here, so that way the rope is in this little notch and then the plate slides over just fine. So, and that's something, that you just get over with in the first, few times of using it. But that is kind of nice to help with the ease and quickness of loading this device, and also maybe help build confidence too. Petzl just released a new Grigri. I don't remember what it's called. Grigri, it may just be called the Grigri, but it's a Grigri 2 with a Grigri Plus platform on it. And so this setup is inside of a Grigri 2, and it doesn't come with the extra features like the anti-panic and the cam changing. So that may be a good middle ground between the two. Moving on to what I would use these for. So I kind of bought this expecting not to use it in a couple of situations that I would rather use this in. And one of them was single pitch sport climbing. And so single pitch sport climbing, I really like having the Grigri 2 because it's just easy to feed out. You just keep on throwing rope out. If you catch a climber, it's the same thing as usual. And lowering, since you don't have the anti-panic, you just pull the lever back and lower them down. For an experienced belayer, that's really all you need. The Grigri Plus, before I bought it, I got a chance to test out one like a year or two ago. And I sort of thought the anti-panic was annoying when I'm trying to lower someone. But upon using it, and for the past, month or so, I actually, it's not really a problem anymore. Because what I do is I either, if it's someone who's generally lighter than me, I just pull the lever back before it engages in anti-panic, and I can lower just fine. If it's someone heavier, I pull the lever back, sometimes engage the anti-panic, and then after you engage the anti-panic, you can pull it down even further and start lowering someone there. So it's kind of, that's kind of nice. You don't have to, you aren't lowering someone, then accidentally engage the anti-panic and then have to flip back and go into it again, which is actually a really nice feature. I wasn't expecting that, and so I thought that that was a pleasant surprise. And so I will use this for single pitch sport climbing. I just dropped it again, but I will use this for single pitch sport climbing. Again, I bought it because I got a chance to use a client's one on belay from above, and I liked how well it gripped the rope. And here, let me show you what that's all about. So here's what I'm talking about right here. This is my anchor right here. I would be clipped into something like right next to the knot if I was using this multi-pitching or belaying from above. And here's my Grigri 2 set up. Here, let me show you a bit closer. There's the Grigri 2. And all you do to set it up in top rope mode is you simply just clip your carabiner into the master point and then load the Grigri the same way as you would off your harness and then clip it into the master point. So nothing too complicated. It's not like a guide style device where there's a bunch of extra stuff you gotta do. It's just this setup. And the rope I have going through here, it's a pretty thin rope. This is a 9mm single rope. This is called the Sterling Nano 9. So it's about as thin as a rope that you usually climb with nowadays. And so pulling through, again, these devices aren't hands-free, so you got to keep your brake hand on. But with the actual full weight of a rope, you can see how much slide that's getting you. Here, let me see if I can show you it better. Here's my hand. See how easy it is to pull out? If it's easy enough for me to pull it like that, then the weight of the rope over a full pitch is going to easily pull rope out. And so that's just because of the cam not engaging from slippage. So if you are going to be belaying with this, then if you ever have to go hands-free, just remember to tie a knot like that overhand on a bite. So that way it has something to stop. And again, with the force of a climber fall, that will be enough for it to lock up. But another thing you got to watch out for is if you're using or if you're around a bunch of rock, making sure that this cam isn't inhibited. And then you also have another problem right there, because if that cam doesn't engage, then it's just a top rope anchor at that point. And that's actually pretty easy to do. Many different belay stances, you'll always find a place where that's not a problem. You can even see, actually, while I just demonstrated that, I'm just yanking rope out quite fast, and it's actually just slipping through. So a lot of times people will stick with like a megajoule or a guide style device while top rope belaying with these thinner ropes. But if you have a thick rope, let's say something maybe even in the 10 range or 9.8 and up, then belaying from above with the Grigri isn't a bad idea, because it will reduce wear on your elbows and not be as much work to pull through your ATC. So now I just loaded up my Grigri Plus. It's still in lead mode because I kind of want to see how it does, but this is exact same way how you load the Grigri 2 from belay from above setup. And let's just see if that cam does make a difference. So this is in lead mode right now. You pull the rope through pretty easily and rope slides it out. If you yank it, actually the cam helps sort of pinch the rope a little bit better. I'm yanking about the same force as I did with the Grigri 2, and where the rope just slid out, here it actually fights me a bit more. I got a couple good yanks in, but you can hear the clicking of the cam trying to do its thing. So let me flip it into top rope mode now, where the cam is a lot, stiffer. Pull through just normal. Very light tug, and it locks up. There you go. I can just barely pull it through, but anything more than that, it immediately locks up. No problem. And I'm sure the weight of the rope, in the past couple of times I've actually used this on top of the pitch, the weight of the rope has been stopped from being pulled through the device by this cam. So that's a very sensitive cam, especially on this thing because it's newer. I'd be interested to see in 2 or 3 years down the road, see if that is still that sensitive, but you can see how that's the big advantage with the Grigri Plus belaying from above, is that extra feature of being able to switch the cam around. And I kind of use Grigris a lot when I do this too. It's not like I'm always on ATCs, because I'll use clients' ropes a decent amount if they want to use them or they let me use them. And oftentimes they're really thick. So I think a Grigri is actually becoming kind of a nice tool to have while multi-pitch climbing, even though you already have, say, your ATC or some other device, or your Megajoule or what have you. Grigris are still, in my opinion, they're sort of becoming a nice tool to have while I'm up there, either just multi-pitching on my own time or climbing or working as a guide. Alright, so bottom line, is a Grigri Plus a good device to buy? Well, I guess I can put it this way. Starting with the Grigri 1, these aren't even made anymore, so if you want to get one, you're probably going to be stuck with eBay on a really old one. This is retired, I don't use it anymore. So if you're nostalgic and you want one of these like me just for your collection, it's going to be hard to find. Just wanted to throw that one out there. So your choices are Grigri 2, Grigri Plus, or that new Grigri. I don't think they're going to discontinue making these styles just because they have the new Grigri 2, but they may. I don't work for Petzl, so I wouldn't be privileged to that information. But ultimately, it comes down to normal Grigri or Grigri Plus. And I guess if you have one of these and it's working just fine and it's not old and everything is fine, it's not at Petzl's recommended retire time, and everything's still working on it, then it's fine if you still want to keep on using these. If you're planning on just sport climbing with your Grigri as well, there's kind of no point to move on from this. But if you do want to bring your Grigri into, bigger areas, bigger climbs, multi-pitch with it, do more things than just belay off your harness with it, a Grigri Plus could be a good option, especially with that demonstration I just showed you regarding the switching the cam around. So would a Grigri Plus make a good first device to have? First of all, in my opinion, I think the best first device to have is really some sort of tubular device, like an ATC or something without the brake assist, so that way you actually learn how to belay proper and understand the mechanics before moving on to a more mechanical device. But that being said, if you already know how to belay and you're looking for an assisted braking device, I guess it wouldn't be too bad to have this. You're going to sort of learn some habits to deal with this specific features, especially that anti-panic feature. That isn't going to be the same moving to older style or a different device. So the important part is just to be aware of that when you are moving from different belay device to different belay device. Would I discourage people from buying this? No. It does all the same jobs. It's kind of more useful. I guess if you're a total weight weenie, which I'm definitely not, this weighs like, I forget the specs, but maybe like 20 grams more than this one, which isn't going to make or break your day, but I know some people really care about weight. Me, I'm a guide, so I have to bring a bunch of extra stuff with me anyway, so I don't care about weight. If you have a Grigri 2 and you want the Plus for different things, that's what I personally use them for. Like maybe I'll bring this out for a day of perhaps guiding, single pitch guiding, and you're gonna have to bring a couple different devices anyway for the amount of people you have, so I'll bring these two for sure. I bring this for multi-pitch stuff. It sort of depends. If I know I'm going to belay from above with a really thick rope, then yeah, I'm going to bring this. If I'm just climbing with my friends, well, maybe with that Sterling Nano 9, and the rope's really thin, and I'm going to probably belay from above with my ATC and use my Grigri to just lead belay them. So in that case, I'll probably bring the Grigri too, just because I don't need the full features of this thing. And by using both of them, I can sort of help the wear on each of them. This one's already pretty worn, but it's still perfectly fine to use. But that's my 2 cents. I think this may be more of a second device to have rather than a first device, just because it's good to have that experience with the devices that don't help you out at all. But that's my 2 cents. I hope you guys like this review on the Grigris. Again, I have plenty more planned. I went online and I found a whole bunch of belay devices, something like 25, that I want to do reviews on. And, you know, some of them are more expensive than others, so I'm going to try to get my hands on all of them. I don't, or borrow them from friends. A lot of my friend group doesn't really have a wide variety of belay devices, but I'll try to get my hands on all of them. And I'll have more reviews coming, and at the end, once I've reviewed pretty much everything I think I need to in terms of belay devices, then I'm going to have some real comparison videos where I talk about all the, you know, mechanical assisted brake devices, the assisted brake devices, and then just the standard tubular devices, just to compare them all and see where I feel like they would best fit. One thing I didn't mention is some devices are more useful in alpine terrain. I didn't even bring that up because this is not exactly something you bring into the alpine. This is more of a straight rock climbing device, and so it'd be best to use rock climbing. So I'm going to move into more devices that are more all-around or good in alpine or good in specific terrains too. So if you like this video, then stay tuned for more. Again, I not only just have belay device videos, I also have how-to videos, and I'm trying to make more climbing and other adventure videos, but I tend to sort of forget when I'm out there. So I'm going to try to do more of that, and then I'll see you guys in the next one.